Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill is a heaping pile of dog shit. Senators on the Senate floor are calling it a crime scene. It is the biggest transfer of wealth from the working class to the oligarch ruling class. It is immoral. It is egregious. It is a horrific bill. And Elon Musk just can't help himself. He has to chime in to this like he gives a crap about working class people. He says the latest Senate draft bill will destroy millions of jobs in America and cause immense strategic harm to our country. Utterly insane and destructive. It gives handouts to industries of the past while severely damaging industries of the future. That last part is the part that he cares about, that this bill doesn't curry enough favor for him personally. It is a horrific bill. Elon Musk pretends like he cares about the national deficit. That's why he created that, oh, I care about this, because he wanted to go in and create this phony criminal department called DOJ so that he could shut down investigations and regulations into his companies. The American democracy is failing. And if this bill passes, the irony is red states suffer the most. And the senators from these red states are out championing the destruction of the working class people in their very states. And you have senators like Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts, who is fighting for all Americans, and other Democrats. This is horrific. They're going to have a big vote-a-rama today, so keep your eyes on this. It's not as sexy or as entertaining as a lot of the regular Trump fuckery, but this is at the core of who we are. Are we going to dick over poor people? Because that's what MAGA is. MAGA is an attack on poor people. It attacks the most vulnerable and the most marginalized unapologetically and with impunity. And their Christian followers, they don't call them out for it. They go along with it because this is a party of abject cruelty.
I completely agree with you. And some of the unspoken things that we don't hear about as much are what this bill would do to undermine the courts. Courts could no longer stop Donald Trump from defying orders. And that is by design, because consolidation of power is what he's looking for. And I just find it so rich that Elon Musk is, out there going on and on about the bill, because you're completely right. He doesn't give a shit about anything other than he will lose subsidies personally.
Yeah. And here is a protester that made their way to the Senate floor last night. And I thought the message was really good. Watch this clip.
The Sergeant of Arms will restore order. The Sergeant of Arms will restore order in the galley. The Sergeant of Arms will restore order. The Sergeant of Arms will...
So what the protester is saying here is, how do you guys sleep at night? How can you do this? You are awful. And at the core of all of this is just the American public has been propagandized for years to champion for corporations. And I just want to point out something. Israel, their citizens get healthcare, they get higher education, and we subsidize that. Meanwhile, working class Americans don't get either. And then if they need assistance because the Congress will not raise the minimum wage because they're too busy giving tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, then they're called lazy. And this party, this MAGA movement, is an attack on the poor at every single turn. The overturning of Roe v. Wade isn't an attack on Pumps's daughter, because Pumps could fly out of this hellscape MAGA state and take her daughter to a state where she could receive medical care. It is an attack on poor people, specifically Black and brown people. And when Republicans get untethered from Donald Trump, the truth starts to drip out. North Carolina Senator Tillis goes rogue yesterday, announces that he will not seek re-election, and here he is untethered on the Senate floor.
Inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs. Now, those amateurs that are advising him, not Dr. Oz, I'm talking about White House healthcare experts, refused to tell him that those instructions that were to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse all of a sudden eliminates a government program that's called the provider tax. We have morphed a legal construct that admittedly has been abused and should be eliminated into waste, fraud, and abuse. Money laundering. Read the code. Look at how long it's been there.
I look at all of these senators and I think, and U.S. House of Representatives for that matter, they are more terrified of Donald Trump than they are willing to work for their constituents. And Tom Tillis has made a calculated decision. Trump's going to primary me. That's okay. These other elected officials need to understand that there will be elections again, and counting on the inactivity and ignorance of the electorate is going to bite them in the ass, that I believe, because it is going to hit them exactly where it hurts.
Yeah, but I hope so. But you see people like Ted Cruz that gets reelected and reelected and reelected because middle America has been so propagandized to fight for corporate America. They feel like there is this worship of capitalism and the people who execute and benefit the most from capitalism. I hope you're right. But, I had faith that maybe the Supreme Court would step in and start to limit Donald Trump's power. They didn't. At the core of the MAGA movement, they have had a hard-on for Medicaid, for Social Security, for all of these things for decades. They have convinced their very religious, racist Christian base that people who are on these programs are lazy and undeserving of them. Even our own governor sent out a tweet this weekend that said about SNAP that it was a supplemental program and that he didn't want anybody getting candy or soda with their food stamps. And I wanted to tweet him back and say, yeah, my favorite part of the Bible is where Jesus said, no soda or candy for you, poor people, you lazy idiots, because that's the disdain that this party treats them from. I don't commend or applaud Tillis. All of these people have been a part of this demonization of other human beings that have been decades long. And people do this with impunity, and nobody stands up for the marginalized. Bernie Sanders always does. He's beholden to no one. And there are a few others. But when it gets to American politics, it's all this jockeying and playing, and I'm going to get primaried, and AIPAC gives me money, so I can't be honest about Israel. Big oil gives me money, so I can't be honest about climate change. Big pharma gives me money, so I can't be honest about addiction. It's disgusting. And the system is untenable and unsustainable. Next up, we have Senator Murphy, who I believe from the jump has been telling people the truth about what they're seeing, the gaslighting nature of MAGA, the cruelty of MAGA. And here he is.
What they're doing behind closed doors when they have these secret meetings with each other, they are talking about how many people they're going to throw off of healthcare. Whereas in the public, it's like, no, it's just about Medicaid inefficiencies, cutting waste and abuse. But behind closed doors, they're literally handing paper to each other, in which they're talking about, we totally know that we're throwing millions of people out there.
So let's do it fast. Let's do it in the middle of the night, and let's do it with no hearings, no public data, no discussion of this, and let's not talk about it.
These three senators are blue state senators, and their constituents are not going to be as directly impacted from this heaping pile of dog shit of a bill. And they fight for everybody. They fight for human rights, and they fight for decency. And these MAGA politicians, these MAGA senators, these MAGA constituents are so full of this game and jockeying and dicking over other Americans, and then demonizing the poor, demonizing marginalized groups, being homophobes, being racist. I'm so sick of it. I know all of you all are so breathtakingly sick of it. It's just abhorrent what this country has evolved into.
Well, and you have elected officials like Mitch McConnell saying, oh, they'll get over it.
Right.
You have Mike Johnson, who is the Speaker of the House, at up to 35 to 40% of his constituents will lose care and benefits because of this bill. And he doesn't give a shit. And he stands up there and he lies and says there will not be cuts, at the same time telling everyone he's the biggest Jesus person on the planet. They are all duplicitous and bankrupt and cruel.
And I think that gets to a core component of what the MAGA does. They Christian signal. They accuse liberals of virtue signaling, but the real crime is this Christian signaling that Mike Johnson does, that all of the women in the MAGA movement, they wear a cross as they sit and gaslight and demonize and demoralize fellow citizens, lie to them, tell them they're lazy, and the reason they can't get ahead is because of these trans people or these immigrants. The reason you're never going to get ahead is because nobody in Congress fights for you to have a livable wage. And they constantly fight for the billionaire class to get more and more and more. And then you have all of these people in America that sit at home and watch Fox News and buy into this narrative that somehow people that aren't the same skin color as they are, the same gender, or maybe somewhat gender fluid, are somehow trying to destroy their lives. The problem is this: Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos reap all of the benefits of taxpayer paid money. The FAA, their private jets take off and land safely because our taxpayer money sees that it does. Amazon, all of those trucks that drive on all of those roads, our taxpayer money has made sure that Jeff Bezos' delivery trucks can deliver everybody's shit that they buy on Amazon. Yet he pays very little taxes. But who do they want to blame for this? They want to blame the people that work for Amazon that don't make enough money, who then have to get subsidized. And then Jeff Bezos won't even allow them to unionize. Same with a bunch of other these corporations. And it's just abhorrent. And the Democrats have got to take an economic populist message all the way into the midterms, because if you look at the New York City mayoral race, Mamdani won districts that Trump won. And that shows you that there is a vacuum that Trump filled. He filled a vacuum of people that have been demonized and demoralized and dehumanized and told that they're not worthy of livable wages. Think about that. American politicians telling their fellow citizens, yeah, you may work 40 hours a week and then you might have a side hustle, but you're not worthy and you're not good enough to make enough money. But this billionaire is. But yeah, by golly, we're going to raise your taxes and we're going to make sure he doesn't. And then we're going to tell you this trickle down stuff. It's just complete depravity. But while all this is going on, while this massive, horrific, immoral bill is moving and advancing through the Senate, this is what Trump, who sounds like a second grader, this is what he says on Fox News.
That I helped China. So by reducing it.
We still don't know. We don't have the clarity on what you're going to do with these expiration of these pauses. July 9th?
No, I thought I just said it. No, I thought I just said it. You ready?
You're going to send letters.
I'm going to send letters. That's the end of the trade deal. I could send one to Japan. Dear Mr. Japan, here's the story. You're going to pay a 25%.
Okay. Dear Mr. Japan, had Joe Biden in an interview last year at this time said, Dear Mr. Japan, Jake Tapper, Fox News, they would all be losing their goddamn minds. You wouldn't be able to see straight. The fact that this man gets away with speaking like a second grader, acting like he has full-blown dementia, confusing Hannibal Lecter as a real person and the real issue of amnesty. It's just in asylums and insane asylums. It's just utterly insane. But I want to show you all in pumps. This is an AI image. And this to me is exactly the MAGA base. And to our listener, it's two people at a trailer park with MAGA hats on with a sign that says, help the billionaires.
That's exactly what they're doing. And I don't know if they're so ill-informed or don't care enough about themselves that MAGA's voters are the ones that will suffer the very most. And Donald Trump could give two shits.
And you know what's so crazy is they've been propagandized to tell you deserve this suffering. And they take it and they fight for Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, who wasn't even born in this country. They fight for those guys to pay zero in taxes. And you know what they think? They think they're smart for somehow not paying taxes. All right, that's all we have for today. We'll see you all later.